Hello everyone. Today we're with Kirueben Visvaraj, Head of Division at Sedunia Travel. Experts in customized travel. They're one of Malaysia's longest established travel agencies, as they plan everything from family holidays to private tours. Is there anything that might be missing?
Hey Aiman, I also want to add on that we also work with tourism boards, different airlines, banks to give Malaysians the best offers and travel experiences.
Now jumping into the first question, as a tech and gadget website ourselves, we wanted to pick your brains on your top picks for must-have gadgets while traveling.
For me, I think the three big ones for me would be a universal travel adapter, preferably with a C-type port as well. The second one is make sure you have a power bank. If you're going to be out the whole day, you need at least to be able to charge twice. So a power bank with about 10,000 milliamp at least. I think the most important one would be noise cancelling headphones or earbuds. When you're on the plane, you're surrounded with people, up, moving around, babies crying and everything. A noise-cancelling headphone goes a long way. The other thing that I think is very useful will be to have a pocket Wi-Fi device. So you're not just fully running out your phone battery on hotspot, you're also able to share the internet across the different devices. So that would be my top 3 plus 1.
Now for us, the software matters as much as the hardware itself. Now what apps should people actually have installed on their phones before traveling, and are there any restrictions they should be mindful of?
I think with the exception of a few countries, most of the world are kind of dependent on like the Google platform apps. So your Google Maps, translators, they go a long way. They work most of the time. But some extra things that I think is useful. Maps.me, I use them because it allows you to save offline maps. So when you reach these, more remote areas, you're not dependent on internet to navigate. I traveled with a couple of friends recently, and one that was really useful was Splitwise. So when you're managing expenses and all, Splitwise kind of does all the work. Or you put in all your expenses and it kind of calculates everything. The other one that I use a lot when I'm traveling would be currency converters. So XE app works fantastic. It may not be the most accurate one, but I think it gives you a good idea of all the currency differences. But going deeper into places, I think the ones that you need to watch out a lot for are the ride-sharing apps. Just because Grab is in all of Southeast Asia doesn't mean it's around the whole world. See what kind of ride-sharing apps they use. The other one that I found was quite useful when I'm moving around in public transport is the local transit apps. In Europe, the one that's really useful for trains is the Eurail app, which gets you details of all the train connections across Europe. Cater each destination to an app.
Now, in your opinion, what payment options should travelers prepare beforehand, be it for convenience or the best rates?
More and more people are going into cashless. Around the world, it is the same thing. Credit cards have always been well accepted. Even the small stalls, you can use credit cards. With that comes along with cash cards. So you've got your Wise, you've got your merchant trade. Some of the banks in Malaysia have cash cards as well, with very good conversion rates. By using credit cards, sometimes you also benefit from points. You may get preferential rates if you have a traveler's card. At the same time, don't forget that cash also helps. So have some for emergency, but a balance of both. But when you're using cards, one of the things that I found that is a super useful thing is when you're charging your card in the local machine, make sure you charge it in their local currency. Don't let their machine do the conversion. Let your bank or your provider do the conversion. When
it comes to travel insurance, what should people look for in terms of coverage and insurance levels?
So travel insurance is one of those underrated things that, it is good to have and not need, but you don't want to be in a position where you don't have it and you need it. The 3 main things I think a good travel insurance should cover. One is your medical expense. If anything happens to you, you want to make sure your travel insurance covers the expense. You also want to ensure that if you get hospitalized, it is cashless. So you make sure the insurance you have covers the place that you're going to, and you don't have to pay anything upfront. The second section that I think is very important for insurance is to cover the inconveniences of your trip. So let's say, you get mugged, or, you lose your bag, or your bag gets damaged. A good insurance covers these things. The third one would be in terms of coverage of your trip itself. Let's say your trip gets cancelled or your train connection doesn't happen. It covers your trip. Basically, whatever holiday you paid for and everything, the insurance should cover the full value of it at least. Sometimes people tend to just want to get cheap insurance to get it out of the way, but don't underestimate the value of a well-covered plan when you're traveling, because you never know what will happen.
I have this fear of missing my connecting flight when there's a layover. Is that covered by insurance, or are there other options that people can take in cases like that?
With travel insurance, it will cover you to a certain extent, especially when it comes to delays or missed connections. For me, one thing I realized that most people miss out on is when you're flying a long trip with a layover or transit, you need to make sure your ticket is booked with the same airline. Because if you book 2 tickets and expect to connect the journey in between, when you complete one and you miss that, the second airline doesn't even know you're on this plane. So they're not going to protect you. But if it's all in one ticket, usually the airline is responsible for you. So if you're delayed and you miss the connection, you are entitled to get a replacement flight from the airline. So you go to the airline counter, usually they'll either give you, a new flight ticket or new timing. Maybe you have to wait a bit longer. So this part, when you're delayed, or if your flight actually gets delayed, is covered by the insurance.
Alright, thank you, Kirueben. That was a very insightful sharing. Now, would you like to say anything to our audience watching at home?
Yes. So check out the link below or in the description to visit our website and also find out how you can save up to 500 ringgit on your next travel with Sedunia Travel. You can also check out more of our packages at www.seduniatravel.com.
Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to PriceShop for more interesting tech videos.